and we are on to celebrate a very special occasion, a very special anniversary of the 20 years of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Very cool.
I've got to say, honestly, the latest entries have been so great for me. You know, ever since my family died in that horrible car crash accident, having Vin Diesel tell me constantly that we're a family has just really found me a safe space that I really needed. So
what about the one that's just a superhero movie with Idris Elba?
Everyone knows that true fans regard that as sort of a metaverse sort of event. It's not actually canon, but it sort of speaks to it's like Stephen King's universe where the Dark Tower and it's also in there somewhere. I've never watched any of these movies or read any of those books. I'm referencing two things that I don't know anything about.
So in the reveals of Secret Top, I've seen every Fast and the Furious movie. I won't take any questions at this time or disapproving looks. I want you all to know that I have in fact seen all of them.
Which Vin is your favorite Diesel?
Well, I think it might be Tokyo Drift because he's only in it for like 2 minutes, and that is just enough Vin Diesel. That is maximum Vin for my Diesel values.
Ludo, I'm sorry we hijacked this joke and just really ran with it. This is a good use of our time.
Well, I have not actually single Fast and the Furious. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Once again,
I've never seen one of these.
The only one I watched was Tokyo Drift, which is hilarious from what I understand.
I have seen all of them. I have seen most of them in theaters. I don't wish to discuss these circumstances, but they're terrible. They're just terrible.
All I know is about the new one is about magnets that like superpower magnets, and I only know this because it was on a trailer for the Demon Slayer movie when I finally saw it in theaters.
Wow, that's definitely a trailer to put in front of the Demon Slayer movie.
Lots of market crossover there.
You got it. Who else are you going to market it to? They also just threw like a title card that was like another Dragon Ball Z movie. It's got a question mark on the title card, and it's just like, we don't know. Maybe you want that? Maybe.
Well, there's always Dragon Ball 2.
I loved the Dragon Ball 2 script.
Best script ever. But yeah, my sweet Agonies, it's the first anniversary of Crimson Gold Agonies. Woo!
We did it. We made it. It's been some time.
It's hard to believe, but it has been 1 year.
So, like, can we further the promo for this? Just have like some more upbeat, excited dialogue, and then just be like 1 year later, just the saddest dialogue we can muster.
A year.
It's been a year.
A whole year.
Like, it's just all of us just like, this is going to be the best podcast ever. And then just smash cut. Just but all of us just sitting next, like over a bar, just like each with like a half empty shot glass in hand, just staring into the middle distance. No, it's been good. It's been fun. Everything's been fun. It's been fun the whole time.
Yeah. So it's your boys and Yenon boys. Yeah, it's me, Ludo, it's Sam, it's Brad, and it's editor and friend of the cast, Bran. And Melon, another friend of the cast, may be joining us later. We'll see. But yeah, 1 year. So
we like to keep a fun sense of mystery here at CGA. We don't know if Melon's coming. We don't know if they're not. But either way, we will be thrilled if they show up, and so will you, listener.
Yeah. It's a surprise for everyone who does not love a surprise on their birthday. Yeah. So I'm kind of starting to lose the plot, and we barely started. But so we're going to be keeping spoilers from the first half of that. We're going to just be chilling out a bit. So if you are not catch up, just hang on now as we just bounce balls. We bounce these energy ball around like we are Goku.
If you're not caught up on the show, just go ahead and pause the episode here and go back and listen to every episode that you haven't listened to in complete succession. Do not stop for sleep, or food is fine because you can do that while listening to podcasts, but just listen to the entire thing.
But nothing crunchy.
Yeah, I feel like a loud chewer.
Yeah, please don't, like, nothing that would, no celery, no chips, nothing like that. Just like, please don't interrupt this beautiful soundscape that Ludo and Bren have worked really hard on, and sort of Brad and I were also there for.
Yeah, oatmeal and earbuds.
And then on the later half,
favorite NPR podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna actually go into discussing the questions that y'all sent us, and then we can actually get into spoilers mode. So, I think we should maybe do the 4 pillars of misery to kind of get the feeling of what people been doing. So, yeah, we are already kind of talking about it lately before we actually kicked off. So, the pillar of gaming, how has it been tormenting you lately?
I mean, this is going to be widely disseminated, but I work in a gaming adjacent field, so it's just constant. It's ruining my life. I've been playing roguelikes, which are, as we've covered before this podcast, a sign of a deep moral and spiritual sickness on my part. I've been playing Slay the Spire, and in one that isn't showing me to be a disgusting monster, I've been playing a lot of Spyro because I've been replaying the remaster. It's good.
I have sort of been splitting my time between. But I've been playing Hitman 3 because I do like games where I can just walk around and find ridiculous ways to do things. That's just sort of my bread and butter. Love that kind of shit. So I've been doing that. I recently picked up The Outer Worlds for the Switch, which is, it's a pretty fun game as it was. Having the portable angle on it, that's delightful to me. I've been enjoying that a lot. And then also the game that I just like, so like if Brad has roguelikes, I have Sea of Thieves is my sort of the dark, that's the dark passenger that I carry inside of me, is Sea of Thieves. And recently what they did, for anyone who doesn't follow Sea of Thieves, which you shouldn't, at E3 they unveiled that they were going to be smashing Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves into each other just full force and seeing what happened. And I'm happy to report that it is in fact a terrible addition to the game. No one asked for this, no one wanted this, and I'm having a great time watching the game that I just watched get better for 3 years just sort of explode like a car on fire.
Wow. I was not aware it was so soon that they already did that mistake.
Yeah, when they unveiled it, I think they were just like, it's going to be coming out in 6 days. And I was like, oh no. And then it did. And I was like, yep, this is about what I thought was going to happen.
Okay, yeah. Well, at least it's better than WoW, which is slowly spiraling down, which is what was playing for a bit. Then I went back to Skyrim because WoW is just, oh god, Shadowlands is just so boring.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to spend too much time, but I think the vocal minority of WoW that they're listening to apparently has no idea what they're talking about, but that's just my opinion.
I am endlessly thankful to this day that I never managed to get into WoW or most MMORPGs.
Yeah, it's
especially these days.
Yeah, I'm too old for that. Yeah,
I was thinking of joining. Blanking on their name, Shadow in the West people's group, but I'm like, I do not have time for Mythic. I do not have time for raids.
Don't they play WoW Classic?
I played a little bit of it. It's now in Burning Crusade, which is like, okay, I've done all this before. I've done all this several times. It's fun.
Yeah.
But it's like nostalgia, and nostalgia doesn't really sell for me that much.
Oh, and one thing that actually makes me feel super old is that my master students are all playing WoW Classic, and they are now talking about the Burning Crusade as if it is a new thing, because they all played after that, and I can just feel the flesh melt from my bones as I hear them talking to each other.
That hurts. That hurts. I started in Burning Crusade.
Ludo heard that conversation and just aged into dust, like in the last Crusade.
Yeah, it's ow.
You see,
these are master students.
Oof.
I mean,
yeah.
They got to be at least mid-20s or so.
Yeah, 24, 26.
Oh man, I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm almost 40.
See, to introduce you all to the paradox, and once again, I won't hear any questions about this. I won't play MMOs because I hate grinding in games. I know that goes completely parallel to what I said earlier about roguelikes, and this is why I will not. I know I'm a paradox. It happens.
We are all paradoxes.
I hate grinding in games. Just turns around and just, now time for another run on Hades.
Start to another grind.
Yes. I once again,
just one more.
Yeah, and my Curse of Gaming, of course, is also the roguelike. So there is this roguelike that I've been waiting for a while, that was Griftlands, that I was waiting because it's kind of the perfect game to play on the Switch, but turns out that the Switch version is completely broken, so I just got the normal one. And it's really good. It's a very strong roguelike. The thing is, there is way more story than I expected. Because, Hades is like one of the few roguelikes that actually has a story that is worth giving a damn. And no, it actually has a very good story. The problem is, turns out that I'm actually good at that game. To my detriment, because the game is supposed to try it a lot. I managed to clear all the storylines in like 1 or 2 runs. So the result is that I technically have all the story already, but I did not even unlock 1/4 of all the options for the roguelike aspect of it. So I'm like, do I play this again to unlock this stuff? Is it worth it? Is it not? So yeah, it was very good, but I kind of screwed myself over. But it's very interesting because you kind of play with 2 decks. You have a deck for diplomacy and a deck for battle, and you kind of have to balance both aspects, even if you don't. And I think that really took an impact on me is how the most important thing, rather than your deck, is the people that like and hate you. And that can really radically change the situation in unexpected ways. And it really makes you balance how you handle people. When you resort to violence, that you play to the different personalities, so that and a run could be very different depending on the opinion of people, which is again a thing that I was enjoying, but I screwed myself from enjoying because I only got to play 5 runs of the game.
Reminds me of Onimusha 2, which would change depending on who likes you more. That's dating me. That's dating me right now. That came out
right about there.
Early 2000s, I think. I can't remember.
People are demanding a remake of it. It's one of those where you're like, well, I just revealed something.
1. They should do 2. 2 is so much better.
I agree. Okay. I'm there with you, but
yeah, and another disease that I have is the Rim World type of game. So there is this new one that came out, Going Medieval, which is basically a 3D medieval ring world, and it's really good. It's really fun. The thing is, there's not much of the game yet, so I kind of built an awesome castle, and that was it. But because it's 3D, you can play with levels, so you can do some pretty cool stuff. But I kind of put it aside by now because I kind of want to see more things because there are really not many features now, but it looks really promising and it was very, very fun. Hopefully you can get pets at any time soon so that I can do the good stuff that I do on RimWorld and then Dwarf Fortress and Wood Likes, which I just ignore everyone and I just want to see the pets. And I think that it's weird, and I don't know how long this is gonna last. Is I was trying to hold back from buying new games and going through my library, and I've been wanting to play Pillars of Eternity forever. I should get to it. So I started a new run of Pillars of Eternity. This has to be like the 12th time I did this. Let's see how long I make this for.
Everyone has that game.
I realized as we were talking about it, I need to walk back a previous statement about not having played roguelikes. There are two that I played on the Switch that the first one is just one I kind of keep going back to, and the other one is one that I just recently discovered. For the King is the first one, which I have had some fun with. It's like D&D. It's basically just D&D.
It's a board game. That's
a good time. I enjoy that. Has the roguelike thing where you just die and then your game's over. So it's that. I did discover one recently though that I've been enjoying. It's called Cultist Simulator.
Oh,
and you just found a cult and try to raise an evil god to destroy the world. And it is a roguelike, so if you lose the game, your game's over. But it's pretty interesting. It's on the Switch.
Yeah,
it's
the Switch one. The Switch one is the biggest reason on why I wish they did refunds, because I really don't like the way they implemented the game on the Switch. So it's nice that you're enjoying it, Sam, but it's probably the worst version of the game I've seen. Even the iOS one is better.
Oh man, you shouldn't have told me that they have that. I was about to say, thank God I can't play games on the computer, and that was I can just settle for the worst version of the thing. Now that I know that the iOS version is out there, I might have to look into that, but I don't know. I already spent the money. We'll see.
Yeah. This is why. Yeah, I also spent the money, and Nintendo does not do refund.
That's annoying.
Good old Nintendo.
Good old
Mario
Nintendo.
And all his friends making good business choices.
99 of them are lawyers.
Well, the good thing is that the Switch version comes already with all DLCs, so
yeah.
And some of the DLCs are quite fun. I really like the dancer one. Yeah, but the thing is, once you start to have a lot of clocks, the thing on the Switch becomes a bit too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just my Switch, but for the King, I really love it, but it slows down a lot in handheld mode. I don't know why, to me.
Yeah, I was very confused about that. Like, I heard some games do that. Like,
it's really common.
Processor.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that happen in For the King, but I definitely like I mentioned earlier, I've been playing Outer Worlds on that and enjoying the mobility of that and being able to play it out, in the wild. But I have noticed that the graphics just become absolute just garbage, doo-doo nonsense. As soon as I boot that shit up on mobile, it's just like, do you want 3 polygons that are supposed to represent one character? Here you go, champ. Enjoy. And it's like, thanks, Pravati. I'm invested in your storyline.
That's lower than PS1 era.
Yeah.
I mean, look, 3 whole polygons. Go back, go back a couple decades and flex on everyone.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like it's how far we've come.
And try not to mention you have the most powerful computer at that time.
Go all the way back to DOS era 3D graphics of X-Wing.
Oh man, those were some days.
Yeah,
those were days. They were there.
So how has been the other pillar, the pillar of anime? So the anime I've been catching. Do you have something?
Can I go for it? Can I go first? Yes. I have never watched an anime.
You will find that you are wrong, because I was going to say the anime that I've been watching has been I Think You Should Live, because it turns out I never watched it, and it's a crime. And I'm going to have to make a confession. That meme about the hot dog guy, I could swear my brain tricked me that it was from an episode of Always Sunny. Some part of my brain associated that came from that. And I'm correcting that by watching the I Think You Should Leave anime.
Well, in your defense, a lot of memes came from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I mean, yeah. That's fair. Like,
that's what that show exists for. It's just to generate shitposts.
If you see some scrunchy looking dudes, like, well, it might be It's Always Sunny. I mean,
anything with just sort of feral goblin energy.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
That's just sort of
the most recent anime I've watched. I don't know. I finished Demon Slayer earlier last month, which was super good.
The movie is streamable now.
Ooh, don't tell me that.
Spoiler alert, it's really good.
No.
Damn it, I was gonna watch this later.
I mean, yeah, that's it recently. I've been pretty free of the anime curse.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched Roadhouse either.
Oh, you know that comics and manga are also anime. Well, basically everything is anime.
Okay. If comics count, I have a problem. I recently I reread Jack of Fables, and I mean, otherwise comics are great. I love comics. I hate them. They're dumb. Don't read comic books. Immortal Hulk is super good. That's the other big one I've been reading a lot of.
I also have. I don't read comic books.
Well, that's that.
This is the nerd cultural blind spot for me.
I don't consume media.
Where I was just like, I like looked over there and I was just like, I don't think I can do that one. And I just sort of then looked away and just carried on forward with my life. Although I will say this, Ludo, when you said everything is anime or I don't remember what the specific wording was, but all I could think about was just walking into a lecture hall at a college and slamming down just a giant book and just being like, the Commedia dell'arte is just anime, and I won't. It's like for the next hour and a half, I will be just explaining that this is just anime.
Well, the Commedia dell'arte is just anime. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. It's like I can say it as a funny joke and know that it's the truth. In the same way that I get Shakespeare nerds angry by saying that all Shakespeare is War of the Roses fan fiction and all media since then is Shakespeare fan fiction. Therefore, by the transitive property, all media is War of the Roses fan fiction.
Yeah, including Yu-Gi-Oh.
Exactly.
Especially that.
Especially Yu-Gi-Oh.
And I put that on my Facebook wall at some point like a year ago. And one of my friends who actually has like a master's in English, he was just like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, I said what I said.
Yeah.
I have basically been keeping old anime on my television as I edit, as kind of like I have attention problems, and if there's not something that I can dual attention or something that in the background that I can ignore, I have trouble focusing on like anything.
Yeah, that's a problem that nobody else here has.
Never been there.
I have been in expanding my Rumiko Takahashi collection. If you don't know, she's the one that did Ranma, Inuyasha. So I've been having usually Inuyasha on in the background. Now it's Ranma because I have Ranma. Can't pronounce that name right. Because I have all the Blu-rays now, and they're slowly releasing Inuyasha, which surprisingly, despite being out for over 20 years, I think now, is now just getting Blu-ray releases. Yeah.
That's weird. That's interesting because that's not exactly a technology that I think people are sort of eager to. We really it's time to start sinking money into Blu-ray.
Yeah, and it's something that people are gonna buy if you make this. This is like sure. So yeah.
Well, I also could complain because DS9 is not on Blu-ray either, which is sad. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Blu-ray is kind of a money sink, and it's just like streaming's right there.
Yeah, I was.
But I'm a millennial. I like to own things. I like to not worry about watching something in the middle and then suddenly the streaming service decides, that's not doing so well, so we're kicking it up.
Turns out these other streaming services licensing this. No, it's not even licensed on your country. No, we are not even putting it there.
Yeah, that's another problem. Like,
we've determined there's no market for this in your country.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we can't get the rights to it in your country. Like, anime people complain about that, and they wonder why piracy is so rampant in the anime manga community.
It's so weird.
It's really weird. On comics, I finished reading Kaiju number 8, which, it really hits me about being about a protagonist on its mid-30s, trying to find a new profession and having to compare himself with younger people and having to push his bodies on twisting ways that made him question his humanity. It kind of echoes a lot. So, yeah, it was really fun.
That is way too relatable. It's scary. I might have to ask
It's scary, and it's really good. Yeah, and it was a short read, so it was fast to catch. And I kind of started reading no, actually, I also read The Witch Hat Atelier, which is just gorgeous. It's probably one of the most well-drawn comics that I've seen in a while. But that is also super short, so that also went fast. And what I'm starting kind of low-key just because I love it so much that I kind of wanted to read it too. Mob Psycho 100, because I really loved that anime, and this is worth the experience again. Also in another media, it's really good.
Mob Psycho is really good.
Secret confession time. I never watched it or consumed it as a manga.
Yeah, it's so basically what it's about. It's about a middle schooler with middle school issues who also has incredible super psychic powers that could. One of the scenes, he destroys and rebuilds a school.
That sounds pretty good.
In another scene, he's desperately trying to catch up with the Body Improvement Club, who are amazing. Like, it's like, how do you get all these good role models with these stereotypes?
All these absolute himbos.
Yeah, himbos. Totally.
No, it's really good because, again, it has all the Mob has all the powers, but Mob 100 Psycho is actually about becoming a better person, and the powers don't help anything. So, and that's the thing. It's very similar with One Punch Man, but while One Punch Man is more joke, Mob Psycho is more heart and is a lot more sincere. So, but they kind of have the same energy. Yeah,
same author. One Punch was kind of his joke kind of manga that he did on the side until Murata picked it up and started doing art for it and okay, well I'm just gonna start fixing things that I didn't like what I did with the original. So yeah, but Mob Psycho is his own work and it was his main work and it's really underrated, I think, just because his art style. I will give him one thing: he can panel like there's no tomorrow. He can frame a scene. Drawing it, on the other hand, he's not the best at. So it's very kind of childlike drawing, but it's like if I were to give this guy he would have done amazing as a cinematographer, I think. Just the way he kind of like frames the shadow and what he can do, the paneling, which I think is a very underrated thing that is in comics. Because you think like, oh, I'll just slap the person on the screen, they're talking, punches. More into that. Sorry, I used to be big into comics, like studying it for a while. So
yeah, and it's a thing with Tadashi. I mean, the man can absolutely draw anything and draws these amazing poses and whatnot. But you try to follow a fight on JoJo, you just go,
yeah,
posing.
Yeah, I guess things are happening.
JoJo to me, like I couldn't get into it, but I might try it again. JoJo to me was just like a bunch of flamboyant men posing.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's accurate. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's the perfect time.
I don't see the problem.
Yeah, it's just perfect, just good.
It just works. Oh no, it's good.
You know.
Vampires, psychic powers, stands. I like what?
It just happens.
It just happens. Just go with it.
Yeah.
One of the greatest achievements that I've seen a human being accomplish so far was I was on TikTok the other day and I saw a man with a saxophone do the Dio pose while he hit the saxophone solo in the Dio theme song, which he then put down in the comments. He's like, I really don't recommend doing this. I think I almost killed myself. Because he just went so deep into that pose and he was holding a saxophone. And
I almost spit the lung.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how you could even physically just sort of create that energy. And yeah, that's why I'm firmly convinced the human being has nowhere else to go. That's it. That was the pinnacle. We can't get further than that. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good segue into the other pillar of posting. So how has been posting? Not to date anything, but McAfee was being uninstalled, and that's a very strong posting energy going on.
Oof. I mean, it's posting. It's the worst pillar.
There's the other pillar that is even worse.
Are we talking like shit posting here?
Social media.
Oh
yeah. John Bayoga either walked out or was, I don't know, Netflix movie, John Bayoga drama. That's all I know is going on right now.
The son of Gary Gygax is making his own. He's trying to resurrect TSR. For all the bigots, we are a company which we are beyond.
We need to provide a special safe space for the bigotry. We have to make sure that the bad people can have a place where they can hang out and be bad.
I thought reanimated corpses was frowned upon in D&D.
But that's the thing. They don't even have D&D. They are resurrecting TSR, but they don't have anything of this TSR.
This is my new game.
They don't even have
Undergrounds and
Dragons.
Also, they are banking way too much that people actually gave a fuck with this TCR. When TCR died, everyone has happy that they died. Like, they spent every goodwill. And there's not a single gamer of that was alive at the time that did not cheer them dying. Like, come on.
I wasn't RPGing back then, but it's like I was early on because I was trying to get into the OSR kind of mess. I was looking at like the old books that
the Forgotten Text
Wizards re-released, and it's like, what is this mess? Oh God, THAC0 is worse than what everybody has described to me.
Tell me about THAC0 in intricate detail.
Okay.
Go into an extended. No, don't. Absolutely not.
Step 1.
Kick right off the
Start stopping. Step 2. Forget everything you know about how math should work. Step 3. One of my favorite adventures is a classic D&D adventure, Keep on the Borderlands. And every time I look at the original text for 5 minutes, I'm like, are these actual words on the page or am I dumb?
Yep, there it is. Yep. I have the re-release that Courtgames did of that over there. I'm a big DCC fan. I like that kind of OSR, which is like, hey, let's remake this game with the knowledge we have now and see what we can do.
What if we took this old pile of barely working thing and made it work versus we'll just slap some stuff on it and push it out the door? Like, I love that.
What if we just turned this and made it good?
That relaunched adventure for Keep on the Borderlands is so good.
What if things did not suck?
Is that 4? Yeah, they were releasing.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping super in touch with most like social media stuff at this point, and all of my personal involvement on social media is constantly just me saying dumb things to anyone who will listen. That's just kind of how I roll.
Same.
Well, we are not very good at social media in case our poor marketing is not revealed.
Hi, Kitty. Kitty, bye.
Cats.
No,
Cats.
I think my latest shit post was me complaining that we'll never get a complete Urusei Yatsura Blu-ray set because one episode. So the episode basically involves the two main characters trying to sleep together. That's the joke. Except one of the characters' mind breaks and goes through the entire Return of the Jedi in like a minute. And that's the reason we will never get a complete set, because of the Return of the Jedi, and Disney will sue the crap out of whoever tries to produce that or re-release it. Like,
my latest shit post on Maine was quoting my buddy, and he said, "If you didn't pee, then you have nothing to hide." That's my recent masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm just going to just real quick take a look at the last idiot shit that I put on the internet, which I'm sure.
Whoa, I did the mistake of checking Twitter, and it turns out that the new TSR is trying to back away from the statements and try to pretend that, we are intolerant of all forms of hatred. And no, bitch, we saw it. We don't forget.
Yep.
Oh wow!
I take it back. I did actually. The dumb shit that I posted recently was 1-star Google reviews about the Epic of Gilgamesh are the funniest thing in existence. I will not be taking questions.
They are,
because they exist and they're incredible.
Oh my god! I might actually have.
It's the oldest piece of human literature. It's some random fucking just like some ham and egger was just like, I have a thought about this.
Derivative.
1 star. I would give it 0 stars if I could.
The tablets are too heavy to carry.
It's just, man. I'm still thrilled that exists and that it happened.
Yeah, it's
just so good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, this is actually a thing that I was doing for a while was going to book read the book reader, whatever the site is.
Goodreads.
Yeah. And going to old classics to see the 3 stars and lowers reviews, and they are just perfect. They are just perfect. It's such smooth brains there. My last shitpost was actually complaining about the wild thing that they are doing on the generic set for Magic, which is also going to be the D&D set for some reason.
I just found out about that.
The dungeons seemed like the worst thing ever, and on my shitpost it was like, well, good to show that you don't understand Magic and you don't understand Dungeons and Dragons. You don't understand the appeal of either. That's a good way to show it.
You own both. How do you not know this? It's like I just found out, like, from my game store, because we were talking about this. The Dungeons and Dragons settings are like the lowest selling of the settings for Dungeons and Dragons, and now they think they can somehow catch lightning in a bottle by capturing the feel of Dungeons and Dragons in Magic, and
it was called Zenzikar, so we already know that they did it better. So when they had people that were familiar with Dungeons and Dragons trying to do it, they nailed it. Now that they are doing it intentionally,
it's
no, and again, because the only reason why the settings in Magic work is because of who the players are. Because you can tolerate a lot of shit when you are world-trotting wizard god. But they are extremely fun, to play Bob the Fighter level 1.
It's like, I don't know. I will still say my favorite card has always been and will ever be Raging Goblin. But yeah,
just a little guy.
Yeah, first turn, start dinking him or whoever you're playing.
I love goblins.
Yeah.
I played too much Magic.
I quit. I was smart.
Yeah. I have a very bad disease with Magic. When you are good at something, but because you are good at it, you kind of feel obligated to keep trying it because you're good at it, and also it invalidates any chance of taking it easy. That's me with Magic. I'm too good at Magic to not take it serious. I cannot just chill out and go off. It's always, I'm kind of wasting it because I am better than this. Why am I not investing more into this? So that always ruins me with Magic.
No, sunk cost fallacy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I exist on the other end of that sunk cost fallacy, where I have friends who were into Magic, and I have friends who have gotten just super into it. They're very good at it. They really like the deck building stuff. The idea of it appeals to me, and I treat it the exact same way that I treat the practice of gambling. Yeah. Where I'm just I'm not going to do that because I know this goes one way for me, and it's just, that's my life now. And I'm just no, I already have stuff. I played tabletop RPGs, and just I have a life outside of that is involved and requires my time. I can't do more things.
This was one of my first groups that I was in tabletop RPGs with also played Magic. So we would always play Magic before we start playing D&D. And then after we would play more Magic. So I could see the mesh there, but it's two different mentalities.
It's so different.
Yeah.
Which is why we're all, of course, extremely excited for the new Dungeons and Dragons setting that they're releasing out from Magic the Gathering, the one with the owl people. The one.
Strixhaven.
No, it's already that.
Oh, Strixhaven's coming out. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
No, it already came out. It's the freaking Hogwarts.
Did it?
Well, the D&D book
came out.
The D&D. I thought the D&D book already came out.
No, we just got an Unearthed Arcana teasing how the colleges are going to work.
Oh, God.
Actually...
Sure, I will be first one in line for that.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's actually a game design choice I like, and I wish that Wizards had been bold enough to implement earlier. They are not mapped to specific classes, and so it's like, hey, these four classes could take any of these options.
I do like that. I think we did discuss this on off air at one point. I do actually find that pretty compelling.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would have done it from the beginning, but I like it.
I'm just like,
no, that's fair. I respect that point.
So I did pick up the Van Richten's guide, and that's like the last thing I picked up. But I don't know.
I got it.
Such a disappointment.
I haven't even picked it up.
It's really bad.
There are some things about it that I like, as far as like the prompt based stuff. Most of
the tables. It's the best thing of it is the tables.
Yeah, all of that is great. The settings themselves, I could.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Absolutely not be bothered to give half a shit about. Just not at all. They're just there. They are, and I will.
Yeah.
Sort of flip past them and look at the spooky pictures and just kind of keep going.
I mean, we discussed this off air, the fact that like when they announced like, yeah, we're trying to get away from like just having goofy universal monster settings in D&D for Von Richten's, like, but that's what I want. I want that a little bit. Like, play the goofy monsters. Like, cool. You want me to remake the Mummy with some D&D characters? Yeah, I'm there. Let's do it. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Let's go.
Like, that's a big miss for the audience. Like, I don't want like realist, like horror and D&D's weird enough to begin with. Just
and this is coming from somebody who plays a lot of DCC, which does that. It just has random like, okay, this is how you make a monster. You should make the monster unique. And it's like then D&D goes like, oh, here's a bunch of goblins, a bunch of kobolds. Oh, look, a dragon. It's got what, 7 heads or 5 heads, whatever.
A number of them.
Look how many HP you have. You're going to be on this fight forever, and that means it's good.
Oh God! I will complain about that. That all D&D podcasts and streams. The worst part about it is the combat.
Yeah, this is my favorite D&D podcast is Dice Fang because of the sheer contempt.
Dice Fang is great.
Yeah, because of the sheer contempt that they have for the game. So it's like whenever it comes to actually play the game, it's like them annoying at Austin because he actually makes them play the game that they are there allegedly to play. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just got because I had I caught up with it in the season where they were playing the capitalist game.
Oh, that is so good.
But it was so relatable. I had to stop. I just I had to slow down on it. It's like, oh God, this is way too relatable. I can't take it because I was working shit jobs and horrible. Just being the.
But that is like the season in which they became really extraordinarily good. Starting on that season, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like the next season, and I'm on the next season now. But the
next season is brilliant.
Yeah, it so far really is.
Yeah, it's basically what if Mass Effect was not the imperialist, militarist bullshit that it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Dice Funk is great. Go listen to Dice Funk.
Yeah, Dice Funk is really good. So, how about the 4th pillar? The actual worst pillar.
Oh, God.
GOG Life.
No. Not jobs.
Not jobs.
Jobs is the 4th pillar of misery.
Like the real jobs that I really have out in the world.
Yeah, things in which you have to exchange your labor for the means of survival.
Oh boy, finally my time to shine. I work in a restaurant. Anyone who has listened to this podcast has probably heard me say that at some point. It's a thing. I have realized that I can do anything I want at this job. and have just embraced just sort of scrap of chaos that I can just sort of hurl into this building and see what happens. So what I've been doing lately is just the office is a very small space in this restaurant, and it's where we all stash all of our various beverages and the things that we need to keep out of the sight of the common folk. And what I've been doing is turning the computer in the office onto various 10-hour YouTube videos of just sort of a wide spectrum of chaos energy. So one night it was just Scatman for 10 hours. And it was Scatman for 10 hours, and it also happened to be the anniversary of Ronald Reagan's death in 2004. So I went onto the computer and printed out a sign that said, "Happy Ronald Reagan is Dead Day," and I taped it to the monitor. And then on top of that, I also hung up Christmas ornaments around the sign. And then other nights, sometimes I just play 10 hours of Christmas jazz in June. There's no fixed sort of mantra there. I did actually do Crab Rave one night for 10 hours. Not going to lie. Crab Rave for 10 hours has a great energy. Everybody was really into it. They really enjoyed the Crab Rave. It's like you walk out of the restaurant area and into sort of just the quieter area, and you got Crab Rave going on. Everybody was just like, you know what? This is not a bad day.
Yeah, Crab Rave's good.
Yeah.
Also, one time I just turned on a 10-hour just like nature cam and just put up a sticky note on the monitor that just says, "Sometimes it's just nice to relax." Yeah, no, just other than that, it's definitely selling labor. That's when I'm not doing shit like that. That's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah.
I mentioned before I work for a gaming adjacent company without playing my hand too heavily. The one with all the stock manipulation, that's the one I work for.
Oh yeah, EB Games.
That really narrows it down.
Yeah, AMC Games. Yes.
Yeah, the trade stop. And I mean, off camera, my work's become a saga where the machine just wants my sweet, sweet blood. We've had a manager shuffle wherein in 3 weeks I will be on my fourth manager. But for the other two of you who've heard me complain about this before, it's not the guy who said he was going to come in and fire the whole team. He quit. So it's someone who I actually know who's really cool coming in to be my new boss for the brief time I'll remain there.
Oh yeah, I've heard so many horror stories. I can't believe I wanted to work for this company at once. Like, oh, video games are cool. No,
video games are cool.
Yeah, when I was like 16, it was a very attractive proposition. And then I had friends who worked there when I was like 17, and they were like, "Don't." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna not. Thank you for telling me." And just kind of, and then of course.
Life advice. Here's some life advice for all you young kids listening to this. Never work at some place you enjoy hanging out or going to. Never work there. It will destroy everything.
Yeah, don't.
I also want to extend that actually to if you are one of the youth and you're getting into the working world and you're like, "Oh, restaurants seem like a good gig." Sometimes they are. Don't work at the ones you like the most. You'll ruin them for yourself. It's like I keep making the mistake of being like, this restaurant kicks ass to eat at. I bet it's good to work at. No. It's not. It's not.
Also, don't work on restaurants during a pandemic. You die. You're gonna die.
Yeah, we are completely masked off in this establishment now. It's all real weird.
We're working towards that at the old trade stop, and I mean, I always joke that our CEO would feed us face first into wood chipper to please the shareholders, but I shouldn't have said that out loud because it was reported to him, and he nodded deeply and said, "Let us do that."
How can I buy a game if I cannot leak it first?
You know what? That's fair.
I've just been openly sort of wearing increasingly anti-capitalist tank tops to work. Got a fun one with a Molotov cocktail on it. It says a toast to the rich. I've got an upside down smiley face that's surrounded by the words "billionaire should not exist." All that good stuff. I've just been walking around at work in those, just seeing. I did have an old man who he, I wear like a jacket over the tank top, so I'm not just sort of guns out because that would be a little bit inappropriate for a restaurant setting. And I did wear the Toast of the Rich one in on the night of a local university, a very esteemed private local university's graduation. This old man handed me his phone to take a picture of his grad and the family, and he's like, "Oh, what's your shirt say?" And I showed him. He's like, "Oh, thank you so much for that." And I was like, Hey, bud, you are sort of dragging yourself there a little bit, aren't you? You're sort of just like it's me. I'm the rich. It's like, cool. Good to know that you're here. And good for you to know that I don't like you.
I'm going to give you 10 seconds of running at the head.
Yeah, what a fun dynamic you and I have
my
created.
Private island.
Where we're going to have the most dangerous game.
I'm just going to just Google the phrase, how to hide guns inside your body.
Carefully.
Who's playing the game now?
Well, now that they cannot go to Little St. James, they have to go somewhere else.
Oof.
But
it's a weird job working with the general public, especially at a company like mine. But I get lots of goofy stories to tell. It do be like that.
Yeah, I've been laid off for a few months, and I've just been waiting for the pandemic to quiet down. Of course, it hasn't, but that doesn't stop them from forcing you to start doing the 3 job things that they require you to do starting in 2 weeks, which is like, oh, great. I'm going to actually have to put effort into this now.
Yeah, that was early in our time with the podcast. That was sort of a reality of my every week was just doing that, which was a fun time because I would just at Tennessee waived some of that. They didn't make me do all of that, which was great. I loved that for them doing that.
Yeah,
there was definitely some points where I had to just apply for jobs that I was in no way qualified for. And it's just like auto mechanic. And it's like, do you have any experience? No, I've never seen the inside of a car.
What's a car?
I don't even own a vehicle.
Auto mechanic, I take it to the Jiffy Lube. Like, I'm not working on my car.
No, if I worry that if I open the hood to my car, something will explode. It'll just because I even had the audacity to do that. It's just.
But yeah, I get to start doing that on July 4th.
Happy birthday, America.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Celebrate your country by blowing up a tiny part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Scaring the crap out of your veterans and animals.
Yep.
Celebrate your country's birthday by antagonizing those who were forced to fight overseas for it.
Yeah.
America.
My area is banned fireworks, but that stops anybody in the first place.
Yeah, that does not do anything.
That doesn't do anything. Fireworks are illegal in the entire state of Florida, and I don't need to say anything else. That's the whole joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's just post.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of work, there's this great, this is show on Twitter. Basically, some kids in Minnesota decided to light a fireworks display on fire. And of course, the staff reacted just the way you think they would, with absolutely no reaction, like their soul has been sucked from their body. Just like, great, I'm going to have to clean this up once they're all done, once the fire department's done.
Yep.
Sweet. The boss is going to call and ask what happened.
Yeah. I've worked in I've worked with companies that have had basically chemical rooms. That's the word, chemical rooms, which is like, yeah, this stuff, if you mix this stuff, it'll explode. So don't put this in this bin ever.
And then every couple weeks you walk in, you see one in the bin and you're like, thanks.
I never really had to deal with that, but I'm sure that was a thing. But it didn't really happen at that one job that had a big chemical room, because I was working for an aerospace firm that works with the big aerospace company that we all know and love, Washington State.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we had some heavy duty stuff. Like, I swear the cleaning, because you have to clean all the parts before you send them off. So every part on that airplane, from the smallest nut to the straps, all had to get cleaned. And those guys were just always joking around. I swear they were high all the time. They probably were.
Probably.
Good to know that all of those planes were made by people who were completely in their right mind and capable of making perfectly sound decisions.
Well, yeah. It's like I will trust an airplane because I know those people did it right because there's so many checks and balances.
Sure.
Except when they don't. Except for that one time they don't, and the plane explodes. Which is like, yeah.
It's not that often.
It's not that often. It's not. It's the safest form of travel. Except when it's not. You all come crashing down.
It's the safest form of travel, except for when one plane does explode, and then it's the least safe form of existing for a very short period of time.
I mean,
they fly in the wrong area and get shot down.
Worst thing a pilot can come over the intercom during the flight and say to you, well, folks, I know all of your pictures are going to be on the news.
Yeah, that's happening a lot.
I said that to my partner as soon as the pilot came. I was like, okay, we've reached cruising altitude. I am a nervous joker. I looked at her and said that, and she was like, I will leave you. This will be it.
But yeah.
Yeah, that still does not justify white people clapping when the plane lands.
Facts.
Oh God, people do that?
Yeah, white people do that.
Yeah.
I don't fly enough. I don't fly.
It's a thing.
I mean, they do.
I'll believe you.
I will say this, honestly, the last time that I flew I was flying back from Florida in January. And it was very funny to me because I was flying on Spirit Airlines, which is one of the more affordable airlines in the United States of America. And what I loved about that is some people started to clap when the plane lands, and then just everyone else just immediately is shooting them the dirtiest looks possible, so they get to like... Never mind. I'm just like, yes, good. You quiet down.
Wow.
Yeah, my cog life is I finally got done with this 4-year-long paper on membrane tethering and remodeling that we can actually show on a living animal. None of this bullshit that people have. We actually managed to get that kind of going on. Now we are kind of waiting for the people that, they are established on the science that they're going to say, I'm sorry, but I have these millionary projects that depend on this not being true. So you better not publish this. So yeah, waiting on that nice part. Yeah. And I just had to replace an equipment part that is more expensive than 2 years of my salary. And that has been very fun. And and other than that, it's going back to actually doing experimental work after spending so much time on the writing minds, which involves way more looking at worms' dicks than what we'll expect from a scientist like me. But most of my days it's working. It's looking at worms' penis. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. If out of all of the various professions that I can think of, that does seem most suited for scientists. It's like I can't think of any other profession that would be better suited. If people started doing that at my job, everyone would be, I think, just the most concerned they possibly could be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that has been like it. It's sorting mails and screaming at mails. That has been my day. Well, also me on Twitter. I guess we are 1 hour in. I think we should get into the pod business.
Not the pods that we cast.
Not the pods that we have cast. Alea Podext.
Those pods already, and I thought I was done with them.
Well, too bad. The pod, it's like a boomerang. It always comes back. So this is going to be your warning for spoilers. So we're going to actually get into the stuff. So before we go into the question, so what is your overview of 1 year of CGA?
Finger guns. What an accurate overview. I mean, so we're in the spoiler territory, so we can crack some wises. I mean, beyond the fact that Hirosaka was a lunch.
We did cover that. Hirosaka was 100% lunch. It's very important. It's maybe
delicious,
the biggest.
Balanced.
Perfectly balanced.
As all things should be.
As all lunch should be.
I loved it. I mean, a year past of casting pods. Considering, and I've mentioned this in some other off-camera stuff and some on-camera stuff, I think too, that like I applied to be on this podcast as a lark, being like, let's see how this goes. And here we are a year later, and like that's weird. That's a different turn.
Yeah, that was basically exactly what happened for me. Like I applied to be on this show just being like, I've wanted to do podcast for a little while, and then I got a response and I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it has just been an absolute delight. Could not have been more pleased and surprised by how just fun and great the whole thing was. The whole Hirosaka arc was hands down one of the most satisfying things that I think I've done, either creatively or in just tabletop gamings in general. It's been a blast. And then of course, like, should I talk about the things that the dark machinations we've been doing behind the scenes, or are we not there yet? Are we going to save that for the end?
As long as you don't announce what we decided for second season, you can talk the
I
other
won't announce that. We have been playing some other things, testing some stuff out, testing the waters for our next project, and that has also been a good time. I will say that for some of these recordings, I arrived, I would say, not in the most complete headspace that I could have, and was just sort of flying by the seat of my pants. But even that was pretty fun. It's been a blast. It's 1 year of fun. The finger guns was also still a pretty accurate representation. That's how I felt at the end of CGA season 1. It's just finger guns.
It's like, hey, we're trapped in here, possibly forever.
Trap.
You're welcome.
Trapped.
It's that. Oh god, I'm trying to remember something other than Aeon Flux, where the main character like dies at the end of everything, but I can't remember anything else that does.
No, I think it's basically Aeon Flux.
Yeah.
Is this gonna?
There was that movie with Denzel Washington, The Book of Eli. I'm sorry I referenced The Book of Eli on our podcast. My friend brought it up to me last night, and I hadn't thought about it in literally a decade. And I was just like, damn, that happened. That was definitely something that was real.
You didn't have to inflict that on the rest of us. We all hadn't thought about it, and now...
Yeah, and now I cannot think, well, that is a very small Bible on Braille.
Just the highlights.
Yeah.
It's just the hits. The hits from the Bible.
No, this is what I call monotheism.
God.
Brad's laugh for that was I wasn't ready.
That's why I'm on Touch to Talk perpetually, because that's just my laugh. I have warned you all before that my laugh is very silly, and now you know the secret.
Yeah. I get to play one of those guys on Saturday, which is doing a stream with some other company for Basin, and one of the characters, because this will probably come out after that, I don't know. One of the characters is going to be this, because it's a bunch of queers doing this. The red herring is going to be this very religious guy. Because, queers are going to like, oh, he's the bad guy. No, he's just an asshole.
He's just a grumpy jerk man.
Yeah. Grumpy jerk
he has
man.
No power or desire for power.
Yeah.
Oh god! Now I'm thinking about Ormask's game.
Oh.
And oh my god, speaking of assholes with no power.
Okay, I want to say actually, the Masks game was I delight so much in what we did in Masks. That was a blast. I don't know. Have we released that in some form?
Well, it's to the Patreon. No, it's to the patrons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should join us on Patreon so you can hear our excellent Masks game that we did.
Yeah.
It was a blast. It was so good. Brad ran the game. And
they were superheroes.
Yeah, basically it's like, yeah, we were superheroes, and alluding to Ludo's point, it was pretty much just us just like shit talking a bunch of people with superpowers for the entire session.
It was beautiful.
Almost the whole time. It was great. It was just talking shit to villains, air quotes, faces.
Oh, it sounds a lot better than what Netflix just announced.
What? Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Oh my god. That's like that's like that video from the CIA.
Don't.
You know, that video early this month from the CIA, but like made an animated series from that.
I don't know what they announced. Someone impart this first knowledge upon me.
I'm afraid.
Oh god, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's basically a bunch of gay.
I think it's Queer Force or something like that.
Q Force or something like that. And it's like, okay, I literally watched Drag Queen superhero cartoon, and that was better than what I just saw.
Oh god. I Googled this.
Yeah. New Netflix show.
The only person involved in its creation who has a noteworthy blue link on Wikipedia is the guy from Will and Grace.
Ouch.
He is the showrunner, but none of the executive producers or directors have blue names. Oh no.
I'm so afraid.
Trailer
I'm terrified.
Still not.
I might get drunk and watch it, but it's like, usually if I have to get drunk and experience a piece of media, it's like, okay, it's got to be that bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
is it?
Yeah. That was me in Neo Tokyo.
I watched the Snyder Cut Stone Sober.
Why would you do that?
Oh, it's Snyder Cut, of course. Yeah.
It was my anime training arc. It was me getting the spirit ball from Genkai and locking myself in the cave. I nearly died. And it changed me forever.
Yeah, anyways, so we got sidetracked. Let's get back on the podcast.
Yeah, so 1 year. So I always wanted to be involved in podcasting. The thing is, as a non-native speaker and because of my disabilities, making it harder, I was always it's not gonna have the quality output that people expect. It's not gonna sound as podcasting sounds. And kind of that was like, wait, that's exactly it. Because there are not many people that sound like me that are represented in podcasting. Actually, it makes it more important. And when you join that in terms of queer representation, of disability representation, especially, forms of transness and queerness that are not open represented because, they are not as friendly to what is marketable. This is extremely important to do that. And I started slowly. I started with our friends at the gates of Orchid and Iris. I started there playing, and I kind of got used into podcasting and maneuvering around my disabilities there as a player. And there was this proposal, and it's like, well, you're gonna be already out of your comfort zone. So this is L5R. You can GM L5R on your sleep. So this will make this extremely easy for you. And then we got this amazing team, and I saw that all of us, we wanted exactly to have the same things. We have the same goals. We wanted to give role playing the treatment it deserved. We wanted to make this a queer, trans, disabled podcast friendly to those that we would do these things that many times we have been told that we cannot do it, or that's not how you do a podcast or whatnot. And we would be having the support to do that. And that really made me throw into that. And it was very challenging because we did this during the pandemic. We ended up not had any of the support that we were told we would have. They took brand from us. They took out producing from us. We kind of had to improvise and find a way, but everyone was amazing. It's a lot of hard work performing, and again during the pandemic, and everyone was on time, and everyone make an effort and sacrifices, and that was already what everyone committed to. But then everyone committed beyond what was asked from them, and that was amazing, and it was what made this show as good as it was. And I cannot say that I loved every moment of it. I loved what we were able to create together. I love that everyone brought their voice to it. I love being surprised by what people brought to the table. And another thing that I did not realize how much was lacking is because of my neurodiversity, my process to work through stuff is, as people find annoying, and the disability itself is not named by what is like to live with it, but it's named by how it annoys people. And this is actually, I had a team that was accommodating, that let me work through stuff, and the way in which I actually remember things and things become important, which is other people are interested. Basically all of you just by picking the stuff, you sorted what was important and helped me go through it. And then the audience with their feedback and what they remembered and what they found memorable also helped me sort out what would be important things. And we managed to keep the thing going on for one whole year. And again, it has been hard to everyone, and we managed to adapt. This is why I'm looking very positively to the future, because we kind of have settled on a way to do this safely, to accommodate people's needs, and to lower the expectations of certain stuff, and to lower the commitments of other stuff, and do it. Evan and Charlie, they will not be joining us on the future for work and health reasons. And they went way beyond the Call of Duty. Again, the effort that they gave to this, they have been really dedicated to the pod, and they have been great friends. And I miss them dearly, but they are doing the right thing, because again, we were expecting a different level of support. We don't have it. And even if we got it and we made this commitment, things change. Of course, now this demands more from us, even from that. And they are not in a position, and we miss them dearly, but that's how it is. But they worked with us to make this amazing first season, and it was one hell of a ride, and I love every single moment, and I think it's a complete story, and I look forward to see what we do from it.
Yeah, I want to just, I definitely want to, for those who this may be news, we want to be extremely clear. Like, Charlie and Evan can no longer join us of their own volition. There is absolutely no animosity. We love them to death. Like, they are still dear friends. We are going to miss them a lot, but like,
yeah,
it also cannot be overstated the amount of just effort and time that they both sunk into propagating our show, and like the additional work that they put into, you know, the backstage sort of stuff. I am personally just extremely grateful to have gotten the chance to work with them, and to honestly have grown very close with both of them. They're both wonderful people. You know, we still talk to them very frequently. They're an absolute delight. So yeah, I think, I mean, basically everything that Ludo said, like, I can echo pretty just full-throatedly. Like, I kind of went into this not knowing what to expect, and knowing that we were going to be playing L5R, I knew that this was going to be a more serious story. Like, the content of it was going to be more serious. It was going to be, you know, it was going to be a more dramatically focused. I don't know if I would say is the right descriptor necessarily, but it, you know, something adjacent to that. I just can't think of the right thing to say. But like, I knew that it was going to be like, we were going to like sit down and explore things, and we sat down at a session 0 that Ludo organized, and like really sat down, and like, having never been a part of something like this before, it was really interesting going into what was effectively a production meeting, being like, okay, what do we specifically want to focus on? What do we want to discuss as kind of the core of this first season? And that for me was really cool, because I actually got to see that sort of blossom and become, you know, this very wide kind of, I would say, fairly nuanced exploration of, you know, some of the themes that Ludo laid out as far as as far as representation, but also just the like, you know, just like things that express the way that we, sorry for those who are not watching us record this, I'm sorry for you. Just my sweet son has just decided to make his presence known. It's my cat. It's not a real child. I would never. But no, yeah, seeing just like, you know, seeing a reflection of just sort of the way we feel about, you know, the way, like, I mean, just like the way power is used in different areas of society, and like what that means to different people, and how those things are seen and portrayed. And just a lot of that sort of stuff was really interesting to me, because I come from a background of running games that I try to make very story heavy and really interesting. And then my players are, of course, just insane goblin people, as evidenced by one of my PCs, whose whole thing was that he was a lizard man who likes to eat people. That's the whole concept. And I tried real hard to be like, yeah, can I give you like some story hooks? And he was like, yeah, for sure. And it just became, no, I just like eating people. So it was a nice it was a breath of fresh air from what I am used to. And I would not trade a moment of it.
You're muted.
Brad, you're muted.
My dogs were barking. I'm sorry. And then I forgot. But from a purely... I
was just going to say, this is my dogs are barking is a great sort of podcast like euphemism for like, I have to go to the bathroom.
That's fair. But from a purely player in game perspective, because I absolutely echo everything Sam and Ludo had to say from the production value. They both hit the nail right on the head. Like, it was such a wonderful experience, something that I went into a little nervous, but like within the first, I mean, we didn't disagree on anything until the 3rd hour of our session 0, which is a wild sentence to say from 4 people who had most which had never met before. But I think one of those powerful moments in role-playing games, and when you really fall into your characters, when there's 2 choices in front of you, and you look at them and like, well, that's the better one, but that's the one my character is obligated to make. And
it happens so many times.
I don't know.
I genuinely don't remember at this point how much of that specific audio got left into episode cuts. But boy, howdy, there was just a lot of times. There were so many times where I was just like, my beautiful son, Hajime, is going to make the choice that Hajime would make, which I, Sam, a person who doesn't live in this world, would never, ever do in a million years, because absolutely not. But that's not Hajime's jam, man.
Most of Minoru's decisions, there was the choice between, oh yeah, that's the efficient one, that's the smart one, but then there's that one, and that's the one I have to make.
That Top Gear meme. This is great, but I like this one.
Exactly. and having so many of those moments. I mean, the whole experience was great. How all the characters meshed was perfect, but there were so many of those moments up to and including because we're having spoilers. The moment to go into the cave, where if you could see our Discord chats, I was like, "This is the dumbest thing we've ever done," and yet we gotta do it.
I think we were literally unilateral on just like, we really shouldn't go into this cave.
But this is my hole. It was made for me.
It was in fact.
I do want to just say, looking back on it now, that whole last little bit where like Hajime is just like, I'm going to buy this business and then we're going to tear the floor up and go into a cave that's underneath it, was just maybe like when you condense it down into just that's the series of dominoes that fell. I look back on that and I'm like, that was a choice. That certainly was some choices that I made.
That was a weird choice.
Yeah, you cannot imagine the expressions going to my face as that was happening.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I temporarily just broke Ludo that day. Ludo was not expecting me to be like, I don't know, I'll buy it. I'm samurai. I got money. I can buy a business.
But yeah, there's this, if you know Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, they do The Gamers, Journey Quest, really great RPG stuff that you should all watch. And their last movie, The Gamers, Hand of Darkness, heavily based off of L5R Community. They did one just like that where one of the characters was like super writ. It was a side story, and it's like one of the characters like, my superpower. It was a Shadowrun game. My abilities are money. That's basically all he did. Spend the money, got it done. So much more efficient that way.
So he's just Iron Man.
Yeah, basically, without the suit. He didn't even have the suit. He just had the money.
I mean, can't argue if it's stupid. It works.
I can't even remember what it's called. That was. I was like, I'm wondering how they were going to get in there without tearing up that machine. And it's just like, oh, we'll just buy the place.
I also like that. Not only did we do the buy the place thing, we were just like, no, you're still going to get. This is still your business. It's just that I just own it. And then we spent a considerable chunk of time meticulously taking apart this machine and documenting where everything went so that we could put it back together later, which was, I don't remember who made that roll to make sure that we were remembering how everything went. I think it might have been Aiko, but it went I remember it went extremely well. And I was just like, I was as surprised as anyone. I was like, nah, we're just going to ruin this man's machine. And then it's just like, actually, no, we're going to need a technician to come out here and put it back together, but we will have a set of incredibly detailed instructions on how every part of this machine works. And I was just like, oh, really? This doesn't seem like us. This is a level of competency that we have not so far sort of pursued even a little bit.
This can't be them.
I'm sure this will not come and bite us in the ass later.
I honestly, like, it's just that was it. That was the character growth. That's the one point where you're just like, it finally happened, and then they get locked in a cave.
Yeah.
Although there was that one really cool scene where Ludo let me teach the Crane Clan champion's sister how to throw a cane, where I forcibly made myself the reason a thing happens in actual established L5R lore.
Oh, I've done that. Yeah. Hasn't been posted yet, but I may have started the Lion Crane War in one of my games.
Well, to be fair, it is extremely easy to start.
Oh yeah, no, it's 100% easy.
Yeah, no, you basically just throw on a crane. You just throw on a crane robe and poke a lion. Is like in the butt. Just like sneak up behind him, just poke him in the butt, and just be like "fuck you," and then just it's off to the races.
I sneezed too loud between the delegations, and now we're in the war again.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you mean by that?
Yeah, that actually touches the first of 4 questions, which is, what were your top 5 moments according to each player?
Okay, I can bang these out, I think, because the whole teaching Doji Shizue thing, how to throw is a sword for me, but a cane for her. Apparently, it's been a long time since I consumed that particular piece of media. That was a good one. Hajime's bento theory was a great one, which really I think Ludo is almost entirely responsible for me, the player, grasping that, where I was just, all of a sudden I was just like, oh, good. this finally something I can work with. I liked that a lot. Weirdly enough, the moment where my character got fully attacked by some otherworldly spirit that he did not understand, I really liked that moment because I think everything that came after that, as far as like aftershocks of that and like how it changed him as a person, I think was interesting. And it was something that I've never had to do in a role-playing game, but it was a challenge I really enjoyed, of like having this character that was kind of shell-shocked and like just like didn't really know, had to start reevaluating the way they saw themselves. That was really, really cool. The terrible, awful decision that Hajime made to leave an unattended goblin child with someone who, looking back on, we effectively had little to no allegiance with. That was great. And I'm going to say, honestly, the conversation where we met Kana was probably one of my favorite moments, just because I thought all of the dialogue, all of the interplay between those characters was a lot of fun. And knowing now what was going to be the ultimate outcome of that is just the most fun thing to me. Just knowing how that was actually going to play out is just like, that delights me even now. It's just, yeah, it's just handing the keys of hell to the devil.
All right. I had to consult my old notes. My top 5 moments in rapid order. Number 1, I loved, because it was my first chance using the dueling mechanics, the duel between Hajime and Minoru, the practice duel. I mean, 3 of my 5 involve Hajime, which is, ironic. Number 2 being when Hajime came across Minoru solving a problem in the form of Nagakita, and just, Minoru's not going to be happy about having to do this in front of Hajime. And this is as much on all of us, the reaction of us tearing apart the delicious fish dish sent as a gift to make sure it wasn't poisoned.
To this day, still sad. I'm still sad about this mackerel that was it was mackerel of the mind, and I am still sad about it.
Every interaction with Minoru's ghostly sibling was great, but I think the one where he actually had his breakdown in the marsh, I'm really torn between that and the Nagakita moment, because they were both so good, but I think I'm going to go with the Nagakita moment because of him strangling himself. And for number 5, where Minoru showed the level of petty Scorpion should aspire to by waiting until the last minute to cut Aiko out of greeting his clan champion's sister.
Oh god, that was...
Oh god, it was so dirty.
It
was so dirty. I loved it.
You see, we weren't on camera, so you guys could see, but when that occurred to me, I literally started like pounding on my desk like that's what I'm gonna do. I have never felt so petty and so vindicated with my pettiness in my entire life. I'd be like, I know exactly what I can do. Sweet.
So good. I will say, just Brad, that you meant the practice duel between Hajime and Minoru. I did not think about that, but that is also kind of a favorite moment of mine, just because we so well like this. I think that was pretty much the first thing that happened after. That was like, I think our third session
at the latest.
I think third session, like right at the beginning, and it was just such a good, ultimately scene of just like, because we weren't really doing anything, we were just like having a scene for the sake of just like kind of hanging out together, and I loved so much how much character we established about each of them. Like in that little bit, you just got such a great sense of each of those characters and their dynamic with one another. I think honestly was pretty, like, kind of set the tone for the entire rest of the season. And I loved that just so much.
Yeah, my top 5, it's hard to choose. I really like the scene with Shinjo Yoshu because it was really fun. to portray a non-verbal character in podcasting, especially a non-verbal character which is interacting from a position of equal or even actual, of power. And Evan was just fantastic there. I really like the whole infiltration of the monastery and dealing with Nagokita. And I also like it a lot how the party kind of sped run Mamikaki and just dealing with the crab, and how the party did the investigation of the pickle witch. I really liked. What can I say? For much as we like to joke that the best outcomes are when the characters fail, I really like when the party gets to shine and be competent. So I guess there's no surprise. Those are like 3 of my favorite moments. And ultimately, my favorite moment has to be the whole interaction with the Iramori family, and that also gets the bonus of how much Swamp Crane became a meme. So that leads extra longevity. But honestly, because I really like those characters, I really liked playing them, and I really liked how the party interacted with them. I loved how they interacted with Lady Flute, with Uzagi Now, with how little shitty Lei could be. And of course Lana, which is the best character that is not in the show.
Ludo, the moment you mentioned where we were talking about the infiltration of the monastery and everything as far as how we were dealing with Nagakita, I do recall this specifically, and this I'm going to put a sort of a gentle content warning on those who may feel uncomfortable with the concept of becoming very stressed. I'm not sure exactly how to phrase this, but I do recall specifically messaging everyone else on the podcast as soon as we were done recording. Because if for those who can see me, I often sit like this with my elbows resting on the desk. And I remember specifically saying that I had gotten so stressed that I hadn't realized that I had been leaning so hard on my elbows that I had actually worn the skin on one of them. I was just I was so stressed I didn't even realize that I was just giving myself a mild abrasion because of how intensely I was just focused on what we were doing. I was just I need a minute, I need a day, I need some time to just breathe and know that was all podcast, and that out here it's all good, baby. It wasn't. It was a pandemic, but
So the next question is, if you had to pick a favorite NPC, which one would it be?
Hiruma Peshai.
Oh
no, I won't answer any questions. He was my favorite. He is the ultimate example to me of the intersection between a character who's good at a thing and why no one should ever be told they are good at a thing, because then they want to do it. And
God, he was such a little shit. I loved him to death. He was a little shit. Oh my God, favorite NPC. There were so many really good ones.
I picked that one because it was the one that I knew. I was like, okay, I could argue about how great all of them were, but this is the one that I know I had the most fun with.
It's just Pishai was great for all of that. Come back to me. I got to think about it.
Well, my favorite has to be Unagi, because I did not get to use him much, but his one scene was pretty great. I think it was also one of the strongest Minoru moments. But also because Unagi would have had a personal connection to one of the player characters, and I was looking forward to explore that. And the whole position in which he was, I think it was a very fun character, and it was one of my favorite ones to play. Yeah, again, he basically had one scene.
I think I definitely. Kana is definitely a strong contender for me, just because, again, like, I know I kind of keep going back to her, but I just thought it kind of, like, I think it kind of speaks to what you were talking about earlier, Ludo, where you said some of your favorite moments were watching the party be very competent at a thing. Seeing someone introduced who was so very clearly, like, had a specific thing that was their job, it was what they were good at, it was like, and they were just extremely competent about like this sort of thing, and just like, hey, I have a very distinct like set of skills, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, and if you need me, I'm right here. And I loved that introduction of her, but it is a tough choice. I also liked, I forget his name in this moment, the Phoenix with the beautiful mustache that everyone wanted to kiss. Came up in the very second.
Kazuki.
Yes.
Yeah, that went at the job with you.
Yeah, he just I loved him just because I love that the very first NPC that was introduced into the second session when we were just like, yes, we're going to do more podcasts, is just immediately everyone was just like, I would like to kiss him. Everybody.
Excuse me.
The whole team.
My notes clearly state that it does not matter that he is attached to a glorious mustache.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. Minoru didn't want to kiss him.
No.
I agree, Sanchez. That's a great point.
So, next question. What inspired the creation of your character? Was anything specific that sparked the concept? And tied to that, was there anything that you regret not playing during the first season?
So I wish that I had built a gnome rogue, whose name was Douglas. I think that would have been a really fun angle to explore. I think Brad will probably remember this, and Ludo, I don't know how much of I forget how much of this conversation that you participated in, because I know that we did a lot of this stuff sort of late night time where Brad and I are, and I know that in those like later hours, that's actually when you are sleeping. But I know that when I was first trying to kind of conceptualize a character, I struggled pretty hard to figure out what I wanted to do. Like kind of like really sort of like not a joke, I did pick a martially focused character because L5R is a little bit daunting to me to fully understand. So I was like, I want to focus on somebody whose main thing is just combat, like that, like they are martially focused, and that way I can kind of, lean into that a little bit. And a lot of the kind of detail work that ended up being a part of that character, I think the main thing was, obviously we've made some jokes around the pandemic, but I was in school throughout the entirety of last year, and I was starting to kind of better understand my own brain and understand that ADHD was something that really that I had been struggling with for years, and that became kind of something I ended up building into the character. I gave him a high void ring, I think specifically because I wanted him to, like, there was some disadvantage or some advantage that I took where he just like would kind of completely just, like the world falls away and all that's left is just this duel, like, which was meant to, be representative of the idea of hyperfocus. And that was kind of that was the first thing that I think where I really sort of like colored that character with detail in a very intentional way. As far as what I wish we had seen more of, Ludo and I were workshopping a very cool sort of like psychic spirit warrior thing for his like later stuff. I wish we had thought about something like that earlier, or better thought to, or sort of realize that earlier, because of the void thing, the whole connection with like the spirit stuff. That was never part of like the way I built that character, and then it just kind of happened so well in the very first session that we recorded. It just kind of became a part of it, and I wish that I had gotten the chance to dig into that a little more because of that whole kind of spiritual connection that he had. That was something that I wish we could have gotten into a little more, or at least that I had recognized, like, hey, this has a lot of potential, and leaned into a little earlier, because I think that would have been cool to see. But Yeah. Sorry for the rambling answers. That's just the only kind I know how to do.
You're fine. It's not like any of the others of us are known for rambling. I played Minoru partially because I've always loved the Soshi Magistrate School. It's one of my favorite schools in 4E. I want it to be brought over to 5E because it's such a cool concept. And if that school had been around, that's what Minoru would have been. But also because I had tossed around playing a crab or something else, and in all honesty, I think it was Evan was on the Discord like, hey, it'd be cool if we had a Scorpion because they would have 2 Crane, 2 Scorpion, and we could easily link characters. Like, you know what? I like the Scorpion clan. Minoru being this anxious young man who is not at all ready for anything that he's being given honestly came from the fact that we voted to see who would be magistrate at the end of session of the pilot. Hold on, my dogs are barking. Give me a moment. Okay.
It's slang. Brad went to poop, listener. Don't listen to him.
It is a very fast poop.
But they don't know that from the magic of editing. And at that moment, I was like, well, Minoru was always supposed to be kind of this inside guy that would be used to infiltrate criminal groups. How does a guy who thinks that is his whole role react to, like, now you're the guy? And so a lot of his characterization marched on from there of that. Honestly, I don't think I would... I mean, I could talk about L5R concepts. I'd love to play all day, but I don't think there's any I would have done different because Minoru is the perfect character for this group.
So, you can only expect this one to come. Kiss, marry, kill with the other PCs.
Finally, my time to shine. It would be kiss Minoru, it would be marry Yuzume, and it would be kill Aiko. I don't feel I need to explain any of that. The dynamics are perfect. That's it.
I feel bad. It would be kiss Aiko, marry Yuzume, because they could have a very happy marriage. They just would have the true ideal marriage if they don't talk to each other. And kill Hajime? And that's the saddest thing I can say?
You can try. Bring your sword to my doorstep, coward. Let's see how it goes.
All right.
Okay.
Are we still killing, or?
No, it'll just be kissing.
Final question. Speaking of kissing. Who is it that Hajime regrets not smooshing the most?
Oh, man. Okay, so this actually cuts a few ways. I could answer that. One, Miramoto Senai, probably because I feel like that chance existed, and then Hajime was like, actually, let me just throw this chance in the garbage. So there was that. But also a little bit Doji Shizue just for clout, because that would be very funny, and I did get just extremely Evan was just so adamant. He's like, don't you dare screw this up for me the whole time. And I just was like, I really want to just like, it's just, hey, what's up? It's just, I'm from one of the other families. What are you doing?
I mean, that was a recurring joke in the chat. Was I also just made this?
Who's going to kiss Shizue first?
Minoru bumping into his clan champion's wife, sneaking across the winter palaces of the Crane. Just the Spider-Man meme of pointing at each other. It was a pretty fun bit.
But then what was this character's name? The one in I believe it was Mamikake with the beautiful makeup.
The magistrate, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hirume Liuwei.
Yes, Hirume Liuwei was probably the one that I would say was the most, specifically because just so fucking charming, just like genuinely, just like, wow, damn, hey, just please let me take you to dinner anywhere, was just, I think, sort of like Hajime's immediate feeling upon meeting that character. So those are my 3 answers to that one question.
Yeah, and that's all the questions. Sam, I think you have to leave, right?
I do have to leave. Okay. So if you guys keep doing stuff, have a lovely time.
Yeah, I think I'll just make the announcement for second season now, and we're gonna call it a night. Yeah.
Ludo, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Tell us, Ludo, tell us.
What will happen on the second season?
I want to buy what happens in the second season for $1.
Okay, so here we go.
Pathfinder?
Yes, we're going to play Pathfinder.
We're playing Vampire the Masquerade.
Oh, yes, definitely. There's going to be a lot of Masquerade. Cascading crises have pushed so many into the ravenous mouths of the great empires. There is no other way, say the clattering masses of the scientificus and other technocrats. Entrust yourself to the hymns of the free market and be content with whatever scraps of social democracy that are thrown your way by the American empire. Surrender yourself to the paternalistic old man that oversees the Soviets. As the little red hegemon marches on, this, the people on the known say, is just common sense. But what remains for us, those that reject common sense? It remains for the third world. We stand together in anti-colonialism and anti-imperialism. Where people scream that there is no alternative, we offer new ways, new paths for democracy and justice. Crises always hit us harder, first, and we are not as equipped to deal with as those that suck at our wealth. The very crises that torment us are then weaponized by the empires to force us into their barbed embrace. We fight that through solidarity and cooperation, bracing the tides of energy crisis and environmental collapse. Together, we become our own champions. The Cybernetic Socialist International and the common heroes that rise to defend it. Yep, Season 2. We are going to be playing on an alternative 70s, where third world superheroes defend the novel idea of cybernetic socialism against the threats of the US and the USSR, alongside more common superhero shenanigans and other weird things that will happen in this kind of world. And we'll be playing using Sentinels of the Multiverse, and it's going to be very exciting. So the crucial point of divergence, in case you are curious, is that, other than other minor points, is that the land regime was proactive in the efforts of handling land occupation and using the cyber scene system of organization of production, not only to get around with the strikes from the fascists, but to organize peasant and worker militias and then stop the West-backed Pinochet coup. And because of that, cybernetic socialism was actually able to mature, and it was able to prove itself much more viable and much more effective than anything else, and able to outpoise even the most brutal capitalistic regimes. So this changed drastically the third world over the last decade, and it empowered the nations of the non-alignment movement. So we end up in a world in which the two imperial powers, they don't have such a free arbit about events, and the other groups are actually able to have a voice and to stand on their own. So this is going to be playing after a decade of crisis, but for the point of view of the cybernetic socialists, it's also plenty of opportunities to push for decentralized democratic steering of society. And this is going to be a game about the heroes that this society creates and the novel ways which empires try to reaffirm their power. And I'm really, really excited for this world. And I think we have done pretty cool stuff about that already.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I mean, you as a listener right now, you don't have the clearance to hear about the Secret Moon War, but there's a Secret Moon War.
Tell you about the Secret Moon War. I don't know nothing about that Secret Moon War. Also, listeners, you can look forward to me just coming into my truest self and doing a Southern accent for almost the entire season. gonna really lean into it. Just leaning into them roots.
Oh boy.
And if you liked Sam portraying the himbo last season, get ready for me portraying amnesiac himbo this season.
It's not superheroes without amnesia.
It's gonna be a good time. Okay, I have to run. I'm very excited for season 2. It's gonna be awesome.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you all very
it was
much.
a great party. Thanks, Brent, for visiting us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, I push it too much. The bed calls me.
Enjoy the scene.
Bye, everyone. Bye, listeners. My beautiful agonies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Emerald Lands, their wonders and horrors were played by Ludo. They can be found at Delethiel on Twitter and Itch.io, as well as at Heroes of the Republic. Bayushi Minoru was played by Brad. He can be found on Discord at BZAJ1648 and at Twitter at BZAJDABarbarian. Sakai-no-Doji Eiko was played by Evan. He can be found on Facebook as Evan Straight, Discord as PushyMushy1871, and on fellow L5R Actual Play Secondhand Strife. Soshi Yuzume was played by Charlie. She can be found on Discord as Resilian and on Twitter at BowserJ, where you can find links to her L5R blog. Asahina Hajime was played by Sam. He can be found on Discord and Reddit as Live From My Basement and on Instagram at SJSedlacek.
This is a Court Games podcast. You can find out more about them at CourtGamesPod on Twitter or at their site, CourtGamesPod.com. Legend of the Five Rings is the intellectual property of Fantasy Flight Games.
With the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.